is Lilian Breton, and I'm here with my colleague and friend Lemmy Trujillo. It's a pleasure sharing the floor with you once more, Lemmy. So,
Hey,
as my boss
hello.
and friend also mentioned, Claudia, we are starting. Yes, we are finishing. We're wrapping up this school year, but this is the best moment, right? In order to start planning ahead for what is ahead, the brand new school year. So today's topic is about that, planning ahead for this future bright start and how do we do so, right? Once we start the school year, what do we take into account? And today's lesson is about lesson planning, today's talk. So, welcome everyone. Feel free to write down all your comments in the chat box. We will start looking through these. If you have any questions, you can write them down there or you can wait till the very end. So, today's talk is future ready planning for a strong start. Okay, so we're talking about lesson planning, right? What do we take into account? What things do we take into account? Planning for a strong start. So we're going to be talking about exploring a practical planning strategies for the new school year. Yes, of course. We're going to talk about student-centered activities, UDL, and gamification, how to incorporate these in our lesson plans. And of course, the bag of goodies, the resources behind Macmillan Education that are going to help you reduce this time in planning, and of course, support effective teaching. And of course, without, give me 1 second, there we go. And obviously, we're going to leave with these new ideas to implement immediately. The beautiful thing of today's session is Lemmy and I are amongst colleagues. All of us are teachers, and we're going to learn loads of activities, not only from us, but obviously through sharing with other teachers. Some activities that they thought that I can implement in my classes. I know I've taken into account many of Lemmy's activities and I've used them on my daily classes and sessions because that's the beautiful thing of sharing amongst colleagues. So what are these essentials of lesson planning? Okay, this is our main start. So we're going to see the essentials of lesson planning and we're going to see what do we take into account. So this is Lemmy's icebreaker poll. Introduce us to it, please, Lemmy.
Thank you, Lilian. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. So let's begin with a quick icebreaker activity. We would like you to think about your biggest challenge when planning a lesson. Think about also what makes you feel prepared and confident as a teacher. So please scan this QR code and answer the poll questions. We're going to give you, 3 minutes?
I think that's correct, Lemmy. Let's give them 3 minutes to go through these questions.
Excellent. There are 4 questions only 4 questions to answer. How are you doing? Are you ready? Let's say, excellent. Okay. So let's check your answers. Great. Okay. So we have, which part of lesson planning do you spend the most time on? Oh, yeah, I agree with you. Activities. Yes, so we spend lots of time thinking about the activities, no, to include in our classes. How confident do you feel about these lesson planning tasks? Well, look at that, Lilian. So most of you feel confident about writing objectives. Great. That's very important. Choosing activities. sequencing lesson stages, of course, you're expert, expert teachers.
Not that much in managing lesson timing. That's difficult for all of us.
You're right. Mixing, planning for mixed ability learnings. Yes, that's a bit challenging. Okay, now rank these lesson planning priorities for the most to the least. So do you think that useful language practice is the most important thing to include in a lesson plan? Variety of activities, yes, definitely. Learner engagement, yes, and it has to do with UDL and gamification. Excellent. And your lesson planning challenges. Let's see. Keeping lessons engaging. Yes, I agree, especially nowadays, now that students are used to using cell phones and lots of devices. Saving preparation times, yes. So they are still answering the question. So let's wait for the rest of you to answer. Do you agree with that, Lilian? That the
Saving
most
preparation time is the
challenging,
key, I think. Most
finding
definitely.
keeping lessons engaging, yes, of course. Well, the good news is that, as Lilian said, you will leave the webinar today with lots of these different ideas. Alejandra, Patricia, you can try to scan the QR code you have on the right. There you can see the QR code. Okay.
She made it.
Yes, excellent, excellent. So we've talked about our challenges, no? The main challenge in lesson planning, the most important things in lesson planning, but what about the components? What are the main components of lesson planning?
If this were a recipe, Lenny, I would say the essentials of lesson planning, things that we shouldn't forget ever, right? We're going to go from the basics to obviously the most interesting aspects of lesson planning. So when we talk about the essentials of lesson planning, what do you say? What do you think is the most important thing? Is it timing? I mean, I wrote it as a first timing to know exactly what time my class starts. I know at the beginning of the school year, we are always focused and we know all our classes by heart. We've memorized our 8 groups. But that's August and September. Where are we in November, December, or somewhere like right now, June, July? It's difficult. So it's very important to write down the timing, the skills that we're going to be working with, right? I've read many years ago, one of the objectives of a class was to review the verb to be. That could be part of the class, right? But what are the skills? Speaking, listening, reading, and writing. What language we're going to be using. Most importantly, I consider not only the student learning objectives, but the objectives in general, right? Never forget that we have 3 kinds of aims: main aim, subsidiary aim, personal aim. And these are things that we have to take into account in our classes because a class is not just one, it's a sequence of classes that we plan one school year ahead. We take many things into consideration, right? The Ministry of Education's program SEP, the school's program, the academic program that we have to follow, the course book that we're using. So let's say, just to say a number, our course book is going to be working with 10 units. The first thing that we do arithmetically is divide the book, right? If it's 10 units and I have 10 months, it's 1 unit per month. First step, arithmetically. But when I start digging into the book and I find out from the scope and sequence and the syllabus, and I encounter, I don't know, a topic that I consider is going to be complicated for my students, well, that is where it doesn't last just 1 month, right? Sometimes that unit is going to last all the way to a month and a half, depending on the complexity. Never forget the instructional procedures, to write down the instructions. Sometimes it is really clear up here, but at the time of the class, we can get distracted. The materials, it is really important to mention what materials we're going to be using, whether they're physical or if you're going to be using digital components to write it down. The patterns of interaction, not everything is lockstep, right? Teacher, student, students, teacher. If you're going to do a listening, it doesn't have to be individually. We could work in pairs, in trios, in small groups. Some written description of how the students will be evaluated, taking into account how we're going to assess our students. And these were the components that I mentioned basically. And let me stop and say, hey, Lilian, what about the warm up and the wrap up? These are essential, right? How I start my class and how I wrap it up. These are essentials of lesson planning. It doesn't mean that just because I have to cover a certain topic, I just go into my class and say, hello, students, good morning, how are you? Open your books on page 26. It doesn't go like that. That's a perfect way to kill students' mojo, their attraction to the class. So we added warm up as a way of getting students into the ambience, the environment of English, right? This could be any activity, could be different activities as well throughout the school year. And how we finish our class, it doesn't mean that we finish our class every session by asking any questions, comments, suggestions. We always finish in the same way, but a wrap up could be an exit ticket, could be a different kind of activity. So these are my essentials. Do you agree? Do you disagree? And I'm going to tell you some of the reasons and benefits behind lesson planning. What do you think about the reasons? I wrote reasons, but I consider them as well as reasons benefits. It gives us a clear direction and structure of how our school year is going to be. We don't see just one class, we see the entire school year. We see the 10, 12 units that we have to cover. And this arithmetically at the beginning allows us to know the pace, the rhythm that we're going to follow. Now, obviously, something that we haven't taken into consideration is unfortunately, we don't always know our students. We are planning for unknown students. So we have to consider, amongst other things, that we have diverse learners, right? They learn in different ways. So I cannot just assume that just by speaking, every student in my class is going to understand me. So I have to cater for diverse learners, create different activities so everyone has an opportunity in the class to learn what I'm saying, right? Time management, right? Every activity has to be timed. Otherwise, we're going to be somewhere around May and April, and we only have covered Unit 5. We have to be careful with our timing. Measuring progress and evaluation. It's not just teaching, right? The students are going from a point A to a point B, and we have to take the time to notice their progress to help them reach that point B. The resource preparedness, we have to be prepared considering the resources that we have. We don't only count with the student's book or the workbook. Obviously, many of you are thinking, well, we have the internet, Lilian. Yes, you do have the internet. Today, we're going to see as well resources that Macmillan provides to you, this goodie bag that I was mentioning, that are going to give us assets, different kinds of activities that we can use in our classes. They're not compulsory, but they're there in case you have time and in case you want to cater these diverse learners. And of course, support for substitutes, right? Let's say Lemmy wins a cruise for the Caribbean to the Caribbean and says, Lilian, guess what? You're going to be in charge of my school year. If she gives me a lesson plan and she doesn't mention what was the last unit or what last activity she did, I have no idea how to continue, nor I know the methodology. The course book by itself, yes, it gives me an idea of how I have to work, but the teacher gives like the special touch to it. That's the purpose of these lesson plans. So this is what I think is the most important thing. But now we're going to see an old-fashioned format, right? The classical format that you find on the internet. This one clearly mentions the date, the grade, the subject, and of course, it considers the objectives. Remember, these are extremely important because we have the main aim could be not only of the entire school year, like a competency from the Common European Framework, but also from point A to point B, one unit. How do I take my students to learn something in a specific throughout the four skills? What materials I'm going to be needing in my class, right? These are very important. So as I mentioned before, This is just an example of a format. There are many, many formats, and it doesn't mean there is just one format like the Lord of the Rings, one ring to rule them all. You have this option of creating your own lesson plans, but what are the most important elements that we should never forget to put in these lesson plans? So now I provide you with an example of some of the lesson plans that Macmillan has created for you. On the top left side, we have These of Learning Well. These we can find on Macmillan Education Everywhere platform, okay? These are in the Teachers Resource Center, as well as the one on the right from another of our books. It contains the objective, the units, uh, the language that we're going to be using, the skills, the pages. And on the right side, it goes all the way from the warm up to the wrap up of the class, giving instructions, strategies, timing strategies. I don't know you, but we always have this one or two students that finish faster than the rest. And sometimes we feel like obliged to pressure our students to finish faster. And we shouldn't. They're carrying their own rhythm, their own stage to learn, right? And we've provided in these lesson plans fast finishing activities. So you can assign these finishing students. And guess what? After 2 or 3 times that you assign them, miraculously, they never finish fast again. This is one of the perks to it. And in the middle, we have these lesson plans from Sherritt that we can encounter in Macmillan 360. So I'm going to steal a little bit the show from Lemmy, and I am going to present my screen with some of the lesson plans. Remember, when you're using Macmillan Education resources, we start by logging into our page, right? Servicios Macmillan Educación. And once we've registered, it gives us automatic access to some platforms, depending on the level that we're working with. If you log into the platform of Macmillan 360 with your book, we can see the lesson plans. Every lesson plan for the future school year has already been provided, so you can plan ahead. Now that we're finishing and wrapping up the school year, it doesn't mean we're going blindfolded into the next school year. Lemmy and I know, and everyone in Macmillan, that to plan one school year, it takes us approximately 30 hours. Okay, so we want to not eliminate these 30 hours. We want to help you use the hours that you plan to make them effective and to put your special touch into these lesson plans. What do you think, Lenny, about this? Now,
Yeah,
last but
definitely.
not least, I'm excellent. I'm going to stop sharing, Lemmy. The floor is yours. Stop sharing. So we can go back to Lemmy's to finish with one lesson plan that I'm missing. Okay, Macmillan provides many dosifications and lesson plans, but most importantly, not only do we receive as teachers the students' book, we receive the teacher's edition, right? And this is one of the components that I love the most because it is literally our guide to go from the beginning of our class, from the warm up to the wrap up, along with the objectives. These teachers edition provide strategies, tips. It's the following slide, my dear Lemmy. And these teachers editions, the beautiful thing is that they are provided along with the student's book. Yes, as we can see here, one of the examples, it tells us not only the topic, the unit objectives, the teacher resources, from the warm up to the wrap up of the class. It includes the answers, and it also comes with tips and strategies. If we're using skills, well, it's not just speaking or not just listening. We're using soft skills such as skimming, scanning, reading for gist. And these are described in our teachers edition, not only to help us as teachers, but to enlighten our students. And it's not just a listening. We're going to be using a specific technique this time. Okay. So you can find these for free in the teachers edition. If you are going to be changing your course book for the next school year, my recommendation is follow thoroughly minimum the first 3 units of the teacher's edition to get a hold of what the methodology is and how to carry it along with your students and your lesson plans. But this all seems really, really interesting. But I think something's missing, Lemmy, right? It's all very interesting in our lesson plans, but I think we could put something different to it. What do you say, Lemmy?
Yes, exactly. These resources provide lots of ideas, practical strategies. But if we want to create engaging, inclusive, and student-centered learning experiences, we can include UDL and gamification. So do you know what UDL stands for? Do you know what gamification is? Tell us in the chat, what do you think? Okay.
They're thinking, Lemmy.
Yeah, I know. Okay, so UDL, Universal Design for Learning, is a framework that helps us create more accessible and inclusive learning experiences for all the students. So instead of expecting every student to learn in the same way, UDL encourages flexibility in teaching materials and assessment. Okay, so let's see what... Yes, great, Montserrat. Yeah, we're going to talk about that in a while. Excellent. Great. Thank you, everyone. So yes, UDL then will help us provide multiple ways of engagement, no? Okay, UDL is based on three main principles: engagement, representation, action, and expression. The first is engagement. So this one focuses on motivation and participation. So it means that we should offer different options to stimulate motivation. The second one is representation. So it means presenting information in different ways to support understanding. So for example, a video to teach grammar, or a role play, or different types of activities. And the third one is action and expression. And this one allows students to demonstrate their learning in different ways. So we can ask them to probably to choose, even to choose between making a video or a blog or something like that. So there are three principles. Remember: engagement, representation, action, and expression. If we want to include UDL into lesson plans, we should reflect on, look at the questions. Think about how students will engage with the lesson. So think about how we can help students engage, get interested in the lesson. Reflect on how the information will be presented. Okay, so think about how the students will perceive the information, how they will understand, how we will present, the content will be presented, And finally, think about how you want students to express their learning and participate actively. Okay, so Lilian has already told you about the components. Now think about how you can include UDL in that lesson plan. Okay, so have a look at this lesson from a Macmillan book. Okay, think about how the information will be presented, how the students will express their learning and participate actively. So now, could you share your thoughts, please? How would you adapt this lesson? How would you include these UDL principles in this lesson? Remember: engagement, representation, action, and expression. How would you include those three principles? I don't know, think about, there in the lesson, students will exactly using Realia, listen and read. Thank you, Mark. What else? What else? Yeah, I also thought about Realia. Excellent, yes, asking students about their favorite food. Excellent. Now think about how you will ask students to express what they've learned. A conversation, okay? So how would you ask students to show you what they have learned? Okay, great, Montserrat, yes. Excellent. A role play. Oh, yes, I also thought about a role play. Great idea, Yvette, telling a story. Yes. How, Elizabeth? How do you want students, or would you ask students to practice? How would you have students practice vocabulary? Remember, action and expression. We want students, oh, great, yes. Yeah, great. Great ideas, excellent. Okay, now let's analyze another lesson. Now look at this lesson. This is another, a different lesson from another Macmillan book. Okay, so think about, remember, engagement, representation, action, and expression. Okay, great. Important questions. What do you mean, Marisela? Like having students think about themselves, connecting the topic with their own lives, or excellent, yeah. Yes, Mara, make personal connections. Excellent. Now, how are you going to have students show what they have learned? Think about, remember, different ways to have them shown what they have learned. Okay, so, okay, yeah, excellent. Yeah, presenting, no, or showing what they can do. Great. Great, yeah, Veronica, thank you. Great ideas. Oh, yes. Yes, a mind map also. Yeah, that's an interesting one. Students can choose, no, and include their own pictures or whatever. Yes, of course. Connect everything with real life. Great, excellent. So we've practiced now how we can include universal design for learning, no, in our lessons. But we all know that students learn better when our lessons include variety, emotion, interaction, and multisensory experiences. So let's talk about gamification. Okay? So some of you have already told me what gamification is. I read that in the chat box. So gamification involves integrating game elements such as points, badges, leaderboards into non-gaming environments like workplaces or classrooms now to change behavior and increase engagement. But for example, if we use a bingo game in class or a board game or a guess who game, is this gamification? What do you think? Including bingo games or guess who game, board game. Is this gamification?
You're saying yes.
Yes, okay. Okay, let me tell you what gamification is, okay? Again, gamification, think exactly, Ariana. No, it is not gamification. Let's review, no, what gamification is. Gamification involves integrating game elements, points, badges, leaderboards in non-gaming environment. Okay, so if we use a bingo gaming class, so they play bingo and that's it, or a board game, that is not gamification. That is game-based learning. Okay? What is the difference? Let me share again my screen so you can. Oh, I don't know what's going on, Lillian. I don't know. I cannot.
I can see the screen.
Yeah, but I cannot share the sound. Let's try it. Okay. But the important thing here is that if we only include games, like isolated games, like a board game, a bingo game, or I don't know, competition. Let's see who gets or who guesses more words, that is not gamification. That is called game-based learning. Okay, so let's see what gamification is. Okay, let's see gamification in action. So Lilian, I'm going to play the video and you let me know if
And I'll let you know if we
yeah?
can hear it. Yes.
Okay.
No, we cannot hear it,
No?
Bunny.
Okay. Well, don't worry. Just watch the video. Yes, imagine a nice tune, nice music.
So tell us in the chat box, what do you see? What is it about? Excellent. It's about recycling. We all recycle, but it's something that is not necessarily fun and engaging, right? We do it because it's compelling for us, because they tell us it is right. But look at the video to see what's going on in the video.
Yes, exactly, Lourdes, recycling. So as we have seen, exactly, yes, Montserrat, that is gamification. As we have seen, the easiest and most effective way to change human behavior for the better is by making a necessary task enjoyable. So recycling is not a game, right? Exactly. So to recycle, they built this machine and they won points for each bottle they put in. That is gamification. Exactly, Ariana. Yes. So gamification is when we give them points, there's competition, there's something else. No, there's a leaderboard. That is gamification. If you see, recycling is not a game, but we are gamifying the activity. Exactly. Yes, Carla. They are playing, but they don't know they are doing something important and interesting. That is the point. Exactly. So instead of just putting the bottle in the container, they get points. So it's fun. It's motivating. Great. Excellent. So that is gamification. Okay. So gamification, as we said, involves using game elements and into non-learning environments in our classroom. Okay. So the MDA framework will help us understand how gamification works. Okay. So there are three sections, let's say, we may say, in this diagram. The M stands for mechanics. So these are the game elements like points, levels, badges, leaderboards. Okay, we're going to use. Dynamics refer to the interaction and experiences generated by those mechanics. Okay, like as some of you said, no, competition, cooperation, decision making, making choices. Okay, so remember, mechanics are the refer to the interaction and experiences generated by mechanics. And aesthetics relate to the emotions and motivation. Okay, in other words, how the students feel during this learning experience. So as you have seen in the video, small gamified elements can increase participation. Okay, is this clear now? Is it clear the difference between game-based learning and gamification? Yes, Concepcion, exactly. Students are engaged. So we could gamify our class, our lesson, or the entire school year. Okay, that is the interesting thing that you decide. So you can gamify just the lesson, that class, or the school year, or I don't know, a week probably. Yes, thank you, Miguel. Exactly. Okay, so remember remember the difference between game-based learning and gamification. Two different things. Okay, now let's put everything into practice. Okay, remember we've talked about UDL, the three principles: engagement, representation, action, and expression, and gamification with the MDA framework: mechanics, dynamics, and aesthetics. No, Maria, no. That is the nice thing about gamification. Gamification does not require complicated technology or apps. Yeah, you can, I don't know, give them an activity, no? Create groups, for example. Once I gave them like piggy banks, and I gave them coins, and we had a leaderboard now, so we counted we had to count the coins, and let's see which team was the winner. Yes, exactly. Yeah, you don't need to use any complicated technology or app or anything. Okay, just remember the MDA framework. Just make sure you include or you give badges, points, you use timers. Okay, you have a leaderboard. Exactly, exactly. Okay, so let's put everything into practice. So have a look at this lesson, okay? Look at this lesson. We have a reading activity, we have a project, we have a listening task. Okay, now think about how you would gamify this lesson. And let's even make it more challenging. How would you add the three UDL principles and gamification? Okay, for example, the text. I can give them, I don't know, like a mission, a collaborative mission, no? Or a rally, probably. Okay, so bingo with clothes. Okay, and then how would you gamify? Remember, badges, exactly. Yes, Mark. Think about the MDA: mechanics, dynamics, aesthetics. So Mark says you could have questions at 3 levels of challenge. Okay, great. And then give them points, no? Okay, first probably guessing games, and then the team or the person that gives the correct prize will get points. Okay, so you will need your leaderboard. Remember, we need competition. We need... Excellent, excellent, Ana Rosa. Yes.
Ariana says,
Excellent,
could it be a
Josué.
Jeopardy
Yeah.
game?
Okay, could be yes. And then what? But remember that you need the three, the framework. Exactly. Yes, Josué. Yes. So they will win points. What else? Think about your badges. Are you going to give them badges? Think about your leaderboard. How are you going to show students the leaderboard? Because remember, gamification is not just playing games. No, it's like the whole experience. Okay, great. Great, Carla. So you give them badges, stickers, and at the end, what? The team or the person that gets more stickers will get, I don't know, what, an extra point? Or what, Lilian? What prize would you give students?
It depends on the age, definitely. But badges is a good idea. Extra
Yes.
points if they're in need before the exam.
Oh, or I'm thinking that I'm thinking about once I remember that I gave them the piggy bank and the coins. So at the end of the week or the month, you can have students buy things using the coins you give them. No, so I will buy an extra point or a pencil. I loved buying stickers and and stamps from my teacher. Excellent. So, oh yes, you're right. You see, Lillian, nice idea. A song to hear in the class, or a movie.
Excellent.
Yeah, on Fridays probably. Excellent. Or something students really like to do, no? Yes, I know. They love candies or chocolates. I prefer chocolates. Okay, so when we combine UDL and gamification, we improve then student engagement and promote meaningful learning. Okay, so UDL and gamification help us design lessons that are accessible, motivating, and that respond to the needs of all the learners in our classes. Okay, so let's make it happen in our classroom. So again, cooking, you're right, yes. Again, another activity for you today.
Now we are ready. We've seen the elements for our next school year. We've seen the recipe, right? The special ingredients, the reasons, the benefits, and obviously we've seen how to include UDL and gamification, not game-based learning, as Lemmy was mentioning. There's a big difference there. So we are ready to prepare our first week plan. Okay. Lemmy and I have put here on the slide 5 main elements: icebreakers, diagnostic activities, speaking tasks, gamified activity, informative assessments. As one of the things that I started mentioning at the beginning of today's session, we are amongst colleagues. If I'm not mistaken, there are 110 colleagues in today's session, Lemmy. So what I want you to do is we're going to invite you to scan a QR code, to go to a Padlet. It's going to be a collaborative Padlet amongst 110 teachers. And I want you to choose 3 of these items, like an icebreaker, a speaking task, or a gamified activity. And I want you to share these activities in the correct column in the Padlet. So this, just as a very quick flash informativo, Lemmy and I are not going to close this Padlet in the near future. We promise that from here to at least September, October, we are going to leave it open. What is going to happen? Well, yes, Liliana is going to write a classical icebreaker. One of mine is the alphabet and numbers, and students start counting to get them to think in English, right? Just to start as a class. But probably Lemmy had never thought about that activity. And when she reads it, she says, well, in September, I have no need of ideas, but in December, January, I need ideas. So Lemmy, why don't you share this Padlet with us, please, so we can scan the QR code. Remember, you don't have to choose all the elements, choose at least 3 elements and write down these activities. As you're scanning the QR code, let me explain. If some of you have never worked on a Padlet before, once you open your screen, you can write below every single column that you want to participate in. And in the lower right part of the screen, there is a cross that says Publicar. You click on it and you can upload information as text, audio, or images. Lemmy and I would prefer for you just to text these activities that you would like to share with us, okay? Scan these codes, please. Please tell us if anyone's having any complications scanning this code. If not, let's give them let me 4 or 5 minutes. Is that all right?
Yes, I think so, yeah. So we'll give you
Excellent.
like 30 seconds, 40 seconds to scan the code so we can go to
The
Padlet.
Padlet. I don't know about you, Lenny, but I have learned so many things about other teachers just by entering to their classes or reading their lesson plans, ideas that had never occurred to me. And now that I see them in writing, I say, ¿por qué no se me ocurrió a mí antes? No, the
Yes,
classical one.
I know.
And we apply them in our classes and they work. So this is the beautiful thing of a collaborative work amongst all of us teachers. We're 110. We're going to learn so many activities today. So we already have the first one that is writing on formative assessments. Excellent.
AxioTech, it's excellent. Yeah, there is a column that says other. If you would like to include anything that we didn't include here, I don't know what
We put
a
icebreakers,
reading
but we could
task
also plan wraps up, no, or warm-ups.
or a different way to present grammar, no, to teach grammar, a different way. If you
Excellent, let me, yes. So I believe the end of the school year is the perfect moment to start thinking ahead, start preparing, and knowing that Macmillan is with you every step of the way. Your academic consultants will be assisting you every part of the school year. You're not alone. But having all these activities, right? It's going to be like Banco de Datos all the time here so you can read. We have somebody in the chat box that says they couldn't scan it.
okay,
So
I go.
probably let me,
Yes, I'll go back.
thank you.
There it is, Carolina. So you can scan the code. Let me know once you've scanned the code.
Okay, she's got it.
Okay, great. So let's. Oh, great! Look at the icebreaker activities. Date with a classmate. Oh, nice, interesting.
Showing a flashcard, but half covered so students
Yeah,
can guess the word. Great.
you know, yeah, and you know, Adriana, I'm thinking about the flashcards, the digital flashcards we have in our platform, in Me. Yes, so you're right.
Of course.
Pionero Archipelagos. So you're right, I agree. And you can use Me if you want, no, to do that. Yeah, getting to know your activity at the beginning of the year. Yes, I agree. Oh, I like that activity, Harry. Three things about me. Or you know, when I did I wrote three truths. Well, I think that is the name of the activity. 3 truths
Okay,
and a
Maria Luisa,
light.
sorry, says she lost the instructions because of a PC failure. Okay,
Ah,
we've scanned a QR code that leads us to a Padlet, so we can collaboratively work on this Padlet and mention the activities that we can start planning for the next school year, like diagnostic activities, gamified activities. Maria Luisa, would you like us to go back to the QR code so you can scan it? Is that possible? Let me, can we go back for a sec?
yes.
Great.
Okay, there it is, Maria Lisa. You can scan the QR code now.
Thank you, my dear Lemmy.
Yes.
She's ready.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Well, we don't have time to read all of the comments that you're writing and all the activities, but remember what I just mentioned. We're not going to close this Padlet, so it doesn't finish at 5 p.m. like our talk. It will not finish. You are invited to continue participating and feeding this Padlet. So, and most importantly, not just feeding it, take the time to read every teacher's comments because we never know when one of these activities will actually work in one of our classes and will save the day, right? At the beginning of the school year, we're very quick in having so many different activities, but it's not so in June, July when our students are tired and we've run out of activities because we've used all of our special activities. Is this safe,
Lilian,
Lemmy? Yes.
yes, I found an interesting activity by Guardián Resonante. Nice activity. So it says, give students a point, stamp, or sticker on a special page of their notebook each time they participate. When they complete the whole page, they can exchange for a prize like pen, eraser. Excellent. That's a gamified activity. Excellent. Great.
So we've
Great. Thank
seen
you. Great
lesson plans, we've
ideas.
seen elements of the lesson plan, we've seen UDL, we've seen gamification, we've seen that Macmillan provides through our platforms of Macmillan 360 some lesson plans and dosifications. But is that it? No, this is the bag of goodies that I was telling you at the beginning. that adults really look forward to at the end of a party, right? The candies. This is the bag of goodies from Macmillan. It's the Teachers Resource Center. Take the time at the beginning of the school year, before the school year starts, to identify the components in these Teachers Resource Centers. Not only are you going to encounter diagnostic tests, placement tests, common European framework checklists, you're going to find all the audios that you can download in MP3 format. But most importantly, almost in every single series, what you're going to encounter are extra worksheets to work on vocabulary, to work on grammar, to work on CLIL, depending on the book. These are not compulsory. These are just in case you've seen some of your students struggling with vocabulary, you can assign these extra worksheets. Many times as teachers, we surf the internet all afternoon to see, to find just some activity that I can barely adapt to my class, right? Macmillan has thought about that ahead. So take this into account. We've prepared your classes already with some of the optional activities that you can have. And last but not least, we also have the Teacher's Corner. The Teacher's Corner is a site, you're going to find this in the Macmillan 360 page. After class planners, there's a corner that is called Teacher's Corner. It has the filter. It has over 100 activities ranging from pre-A1 to B1 plus of the Common European Framework. It comes with the activity that you can photocopy or send via Google Drive to your students. And it comes with the instructions for the teacher, the aim, the lesson plan, obviously the answers, and how to carry out these activities. So these are extra activities from your students' book, just in case you happen to need them. The beautiful bag of goodies that I was mentioning. Now,
Exactly.
another thing that we
So
can mention, then you
additional,
have something
yeah,
prepared, yeah.
yeah, additional resources now that can support planning and assessment during the first weeks of school. Yes. Okay. So
Very good.
as we have seen, sometimes small strategies can make a big difference now. So we can use bell ringers, different classroom routines, as you have written in the Padlet, exit tickets, gamified activities, AI system planning, and yes. So as you have seen, we can also use technology if you want, but it's not like a must, no? We can have students use emoji to react to whatever we are doing in the classroom. No, or what else? What else you can think of? Do you have any extra idea, Lilian? Yes.
I saw a video a while back during the pandemic when teachers received students back into the classroom. And it was a complication, right? Getting emotions from students. Kindergarten students barely identify their emotions, but the older the student gets, it's not like they say, I feel sad or I feel mad before the class starts. So the teacher put like the street lights, obviously the colors red, yellow, and green, and in every circle he drew a face. For green was a happy face, for yellow was a flat face, and for red was a sad face. So students, instead of coming in and answering how they felt in class, they would just automatically touch how they felt before they came into the classroom. So this is a quick win because it gives us another opportunity of greeting students a different way.
Exactly. And probably they feel shy, no, about letting the teacher know how they feel. Yeah. Okay, so before we finish, we would like you to take a few minutes to reflect and complete this sentence. This year, I want to start stronger by. Think about an idea, a strategy, a resource from today's workshop that you would like to implement in your classroom.
How would you like to start stronger by, Elimi?
I think I want to start stronger by, I love challenging activities. I love when I use something I hadn't used before. Oh, great,
Brilliant.
Carla. Gamification, yes. Being more dynamic, yes, you're right. So I'm thinking that sometimes we are really worried about the book and finishing the activities that we forget about the fun part, no? Oh, excellent. Excellent, Luis Ángel. Great. Playing more games. Oh, yes, you're
These are
right. Probably
great
using
ideas.
less technology. Yes, great. Yes, excellent. Great, Christian. Excellent, yes. So Lilian said, no, academic consultants, we are there for you. If you need ideas, if you need anything, please let us know.
It will be a pleasure. We
Yes,
really
Lourdes,
hope that
thank
you
you.
enjoyed today's session, that it was interesting, that it was useful, that you take something with you. Remember, the Padlet will always be open, at least for a couple of months, so you can take pictures of it. That way you take away the ideas of this collaborative work that we did amongst other 110 teachers. So on behalf of Lemmy, my boss, and I, thank you very much for attending today's session. Lemmy?
Thank you. Thank you very much for your participation and your collaboration today. We hope that we have given you lots of ideas.
My name is